Hi, welcome to our YouTube channel, ScarboroSmiles. My name is Dr. Cumandra, or Dr. C as everybody likes to call me. This will be one of the installments about the 5 pillars of health that I discuss with all my patients on our new patient examinations, and we touch base every few years to revisit this. So today we'll discuss a little bit about nutrition. My understanding of nutrition now is I don't eat for me, I eat for my biome or my stomach. Our stomach is full of bacteria, foreign cells. In fact, we have more foreign DNA in our body than our own cells, which is an interesting concept as to who we are. But in any case, all these trillions of cells in our stomach produce hormones, enzymes, proteins, even neurochemicals, which help us with our moods, etc., and many other processes. Most importantly at this moment, they also produce about 60 to 80 of our immunity. So it's a very important concept that we maintain really good gut health and maintain a good balance of one type of bacteria versus another. So if you liken it to a garden, one might say some things in the garden are good and some are weeds. And it's the proportion of these things that's very important. So what's good? One can imagine if we're eating antibiotics or hormones or chemicals, etc., that kill the good bugs. We can imagine the garden goes off and it gets infested with weeds or non-edible things. Same thing happens in our gut. A lot of the foods we consume have antibiotics, such as cattle or chicken, etc., or hormones that end up in our food through their use in animals. So if we can imagine our youngsters especially eating this stuff and killing their biome to a point where it's completely changed, then we can imagine that this may create a bit of an increase in ADD, ADHD, autism, allergies, decrease of immunity, and so on and so on. So hopefully we're getting some animals that are raised in a clean environment, grass-fed versus grain-fed. Why? Because even the grains in Canada are genetically modified, and they tend to have an inordinate amount of gluten and other products that a good portion of the population may be allergic to or sensitive to. So staying clean, in other words. If we look at fruits and veggies and so forth, of course that includes pesticides. How do we prevent this? It's almost impossible in a modern society, but we try to minimize this by proper washing and hopefully buying as much organic or clean or local or fresh stuff as possible as well. This also ensures that they're rich in all the nutrients that we're expecting to get from these foods. What about water? Same thing, we try to filter water. So bottom line is we're trying to pollute our body as little as possible. But what's another source of pollution? Most packaged foods, if one thinks of, are usually wrapped in PABA or plastic, or in tins, and who knows what else. As well, a lot of the additives are chemicals. The taste is chemicals. The colors of foods is chemicals, and so forth. So what are we getting? We're not sure half the time. As well, for taste, a lot of sugar and salt is being added, which not be the healthiest thing for us to have. So once again, we just try and keep it clean as much as possible. If one looks at today's environmental consciousness overall, that we're trying to keep or depollute the planet, make it green again, perhaps it makes sense to start with our own bodies. That we clean up our own bodies first, through the foods we eat and the water we drink. What about water? Filter. Why? Because we know that chlorine is added to a lot of water and other chemicals. Some of the pipes may be old, and who knows what else is in them. So we filter that as well. Then looking at the number one problem nowadays, which seems to be diabetes. Why diabetes? The incidence of sugar intake and the frequency of sugar intake seems to be all the foods we eat, including hamburgers, of all things. And it's not so much the sugar, it's the frequency of the sugar. Each time we have sugar, we release insulin. And if we have insulin over and over and over again, our body starts getting used to it, if you will, and we become insulin insensitive, which is of course a diagnosis of diabetes type 2. And once we get that, and we have all the cousins, as we call them, moving in, hypertension, Alzheimer's, etc., etc. So, bottom line, eat clean, drink clean, and eat healthy. Then we move on to vitamin D. Vitamin D is actually not a vitamin. It seems to be more like a hormone. We don't really need to eat it. We can produce it simply by exposing our skin to sunlight. However, nowadays, especially being confined or in Canada during the winters, we may not be getting enough vitamin D or sun exposure. So supplementing makes sense unless we're eating a lot of fish or fish oils. So I hope that was useful,